Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Mabel, and today we've got an old friend of mine, Jen Witt, as well as a couple of others. Cycling is so cool. It can bring us such good in so many ways. Obvious among them is like better health and fitness for all of us who ride, but it also brings us things like friendships, joy, our own personal therapy, and it can definitely take us places we'd never otherwise have been. For instance, last weekend we went to Sheridan, Iowa. It's a little small town an hour south of Des Moines. For instance, last weekend we went to Sheridan, Iowa, a small town an hour south of Des Moines, to ride a new gravel event called Outland. Now, I was born in Iowa, and as a kid, we would always drive through Sheridan on our way to our vacation, and we would always stop by the little ice cream shop for a treat. And I have ridden RAGBRAI through Sheridan several times. I don't know, I've been to Sheridan a bunch. But this new race took me through parts of Iowa that I've never even imagined existed. Deep forest roads, rugged and fun level B roads, beautiful rolling champagne gravel roads, and 15 miles along the first, and therefore oldest, Rails to Trails trail in Iowa, the aptly named Cinder Path Trail. All the new scenery was a real treat. It was both beautiful and interesting, and it's because of cycling that Vance decided to invite us all down to his hometown to enjoy his favorite roads, and that B, Dee and I got to spend a day exploring a new part of the countryside together. It's all so good. But cycling can also be an avenue to bring people together to support a cause. A bike ride can be a great way to raise money or awareness, or maybe even both for an organization. And that brings me back to this episode. Our guest, Jen Witt, is both an oncology nurse, and she also began a foundation that is working to continue the work of her ex-husband, who was a judge in the juvenile court system. And she is utilizing a bike ride to raise both awareness and money to support the work of the foundation, which is called Restoring Hope. Now, we've also got a couple of other supporting cast people in this episode, and you'll soon meet them. So, I would really like to introduce you to my friend Jen Witt and her organization, Restoring Hope. Jen Witt, what a pleasure to see you.
Well, pleasure to see you. Thank you so much.
It's super fun and funny to have you on my podcast because we've known each other,
I know, it's an honor.
unfortunately,
Thank you.
for a long time.
Yes.
You are still a nurse.
Yes.
Still a nurse. That's how we originally knew you. You took care of my mom.
I did.
When she was going through one or couple.
Every time she would be in the hospital, I got to take care of her, and then knew her outside of that. But yes, I remember her painting her driftwood, and she'd be working on her Santas when she was going through her chemo, and it was always so special to go in and talk to Marge and to be with her. She was amazing.
You guys were all great to her. And I mean, as you're saying that, I'm remembering her painting her Santas, and of course, we're her kids. So we're rolling our eyes like, oh, Mom wants another box of driftwood at the hospital. And it's like, okay, but that was therapeutic for her, which is, not uncommon for creativity and art and even craft to an extent, super therapeutic. So it helped her get through her chemo and recover from it. And you helped her get through her time in the hospital, which was pretty often actually for a while. She went through. I just had this conversation. This is such a sidebar. Who was I riding with? Riding with somebody, I can't even think. Talking RAGBRAI. Patrick Rupi. And we were talking about the Lance Armstrong era and Ragbri, and like we rode with Lance, the whole family rode with Lance 100 years ago. We were on our triple with Trail Bike in Burley, and he went back and talked to Dee and then all the kids, and it was kind of fun. And why am I bringing this up? What relevance did this have? Cancer. When I remember sitting in the basement, I think of Methodist, waiting for another test and pulling out like a Newsweek or a Time magazine, and there was an article about this dude who had cancer, had beaten cancer, and was back racing his bike. And I was like, hey, Mom, look at this. This dude beat cancer. You can beat cancer too. So he was a total inspiration for her all the way through. It was the same year, 1999, that he won his first tour. And she watched. I called her crying when he won a prologue and was in yellow, and it was unbelievable. So anyway, that was a sidebar, Lance Armstrong sidebar, that I just had that conversation this weekend. Friday, as a matter of fact, yeah. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Lance or cancer. We're kind of here to talk about what you're up to now, but I want to know, so you're a nurse. Who else are you? Who is Jen Witt? Where do you come from? What are you doing? All that. You're super active. I do know that.
Primarily, my best role is being a mom to our son Abram, who is going to be 13 here in the next week, and will be a 7th grader. So that's my number one role and best love. But our second love that we have done after Colin had passed away from lymphoma, actually in February of 2020. Myself, family, dear friends of ours said, you know, what can we do? We had all of this love for Colin and grief, and it was like, we have to do something with it. And he would want us to do something with it. And you can never move, as you well know, you can't move on when you've lost someone you deeply love. But you want to still be all the things you loved about them, right? And it was, that's what I felt very led to do, is that how do I take all this love and all the things that I admired and that we all admired and looked up to Colin, or looked to in Colin, and it was like, how do we now become that and shine his love and his light and the things that mattered to him and that, again, that we loved about him? How do we give that back? And I knew deep in my heart that it had to be back into juvenile court. And how do we not only honor, because I think, especially if you're not, it's kind of like oncology, right? Unless you're really in it, you have maybe in your own mind, you think, oh, that's got to be sad work all the time, or that's this. Juvenile work, oh, that must just be really hard, and people are just bad, right? Like it's a black or white negative, right?
Yeah, yep.
And I think what we both understood and what led us both into oncology care and juvenile justice was there is a sacredness in that work. And there's both an honor and a responsibility that in being in those spaces, in that type of work, to honor the people you get to care for, obviously in different ways. But, Christine had said that about Colin. He did. Colin could hold court, and in the sense that he had the power, but he never used it in that way that created a us versus them. And he had the ability to have tenderness and mercy and compassion, and probably, maybe to some, it would be a fault that he gave too many chances for redemption, where maybe others would have said, let's pull back the reins, right? And, but he truly, he was led deeply, just the nobleness, the sacredness that is that work and working with kids and trying to help kids. One of the things Colin always used to say was, you are more than any mistake you've ever made. You're more than any trauma done to you. And he strived every day to try and help kids know that they were more than the labels put on them, and that they could be more than whatever the circumstances that brought them into his courtroom, into this space, that he was going to do everything he could to try and help them find a way forward that was positive, and with the help and support of all his teams. So,
we've talked a lot about Colin. Who is Colin?
Colin, I'm sorry. That would have been
right.
probably a better way to start.
Well,
So
no,
Colin,
I did actually want to circle back.
Sorry about that. I hope I haven't ruined your podcast.
No, for sure not.
No.
I want to say, like, the reason we're here is to honor Colin, and you form an organization called Restoring Hope.
Correct.
And I think in my asking who is Colin, I think we're going to find out. When I hear the word restore, it means we had something and then it crumbled down and now we're restoring it and building it back up. Yeah. And you have an organization called Restoring Hope. And I feel like Colin's story is going to lead us to why are we restoring hope and how.
Correct.
So who is Colin?
So Colin Witt was
the
Honorable Colin Witt. Yes.
Did you ever call him the Honorable?
No, he wouldn't. He'd probably hate it that we call him that and that we use that.
For sure.
He would not. Yeah, he didn't like that. Colin, when he didn't even like to. Even with his robe on, he would wear bike socks. So your audience will appreciate that. And sometimes they matched, sometimes they didn't, but they were always bright, obnoxious, funny bike socks to work. And he only, when it was required for the occasion, did he wear real dress socks. So, and kids knew that. But no, Colin was a juvenile court judge in Polk County here in Des Moines for many years, and always had a heart for juvenile justice. That was where he wanted to be. And again, after he had passed away from lymphoma, we had started our foundation, Restoring Hope. And the idea was, again, how do we, again, shine Colin's light and love, but how do we help kids and the teams that work with them? How do we help support them in any way possible? And one of the key cornerstones of how Colin used to do that was he loved to connect with kids. And he did that through books, poetry. If he was meeting a kid who loved basketball, he might, the next time he sees them, here's a book on Oscar Robinson, or a favorite player, or somebody he knew that kid might like. And he'd say, hey, read this, you might be interested, and let's talk about it next time. He might share poetry or music or other ways, and that was the bridge that helped them build trust and not only learn who that child was, what his dreams were, what his wishes were, but also challenge that youth to say, that's maybe something I didn't think about or would like to explore. And so we wanted to continue that through our giving libraries. And so that became the mainstay of what our...
In the context of his courtroom, he would get to know a kid well enough to know they like basketball, and he would get them a book on basketball.
Yeah.
And then say, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty amazing. I can't picture a judge caring that much about who is sitting across from them in the courtroom.
Yeah, actually in the courtroom, and I believe it's still there. So he had a youth who had done photography. So one of the things Colin loved was Art Force Iowa. And he would love to connect his kids who, especially if they really had had a traumatic background, whatever that might have meant, and just helping them to heal, to find their voice, to know that their voice mattered. And he knew that's the work, that's the space that was created here at Art Force Iowa. And so there is a photograph of, it's a black and white photograph of a bird in flight. And Colin used to be a part of a lot of the programming that Art Force did and supported, and he would buy the art of the kids, and that picture is still in the courthouse. And it's just a reminder of the heights that these kids can achieve. That again, they're more than the circumstances they find themselves in, and that through a lot of hard work, but a lot of support, and they can make different choices for themselves, and that they don't have to stay here or believe that this is all they can be, a thief. or as Christine was saying, a thug, a bad student, a fill in the blank.
Right,
They're
the worst thing you ever did does not define who you are.
correct.
Yeah, and it's
100%.
it's true, but everybody needs to hear that and believe that and be reminded of that
I
regularly.
think, yeah, Colin would always said what youth need. They need people they need the adults in their life to intentionally show up and be consistent in showing up and reinforcing again how much they matter, and that when we do that, when we consistently keep doing that, we show up for each other, and that just again, that willingness to help youth see beyond their circumstances, see beyond what is just now, and that short term, that short lived, that there is something more next, and that they matter, they're worthy of that.
It's worth restoring the hope.
Correct.
That maybe they were born with and have lost sight of.
Correct.
And I feel like he helped restore that hope, and you're keeping that alive.
Yeah.
What's one of the ways, I want you to tell the story of one of the ways that most visible that you guys work within the courtroom. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, so we started Mighty Oak Giving Libraries, and for me, and I know you have a connection with that too, the acorn has always meant a lot to me, and just that no matter the winds and the rains and the storms that an oak tree faces, those acorns have all the possibility in them to become anything. And with the right circumstances, the right support, they can grow into become these mighty oaks and continue that. And so we started these giving libraries, and then we also started what are called children's acorners. And so the giving libraries are amazing because they have at least in each of the libraries. So we currently have in all of the juvenile courtrooms here in Polk County, the Grubb YMCA, and also the Middleton Center for Children's Rights at Drake Legal Clinic. And then we also have in Fayette, Buchanan, and Wapello counties.
Oh, wow.
And so these libraries have been curated to, with about 50 different titles that really reflect different themes of what kids are facing, but always with the undercurrent of how to overcome adversity, how to find your voice, to use it for good and service, but also to help them learn who they are and who they can become. And so all of these books are new. That's been one of the most humbling things, is many of these kids, we are told over and over again, they've never had their own new book. They've never had a book. So a lot of times when kids either pick them out themselves, or maybe the judges or their teams might pick out books they think they may like and bring them to them. They've been taken to detention centers. They've been used as part of curriculum in the drug court. The girls' drug court read one of our books, The Hate You Give, and used it as a book discussion. They get them at adoption Saturdays or at different milestones if they're progressing. Or I know one of the judges, they just were having a bad day, and he found that way to connect with the kid and how much that book meant to them. They came back the next time and asked if they could take one to their brother or sister. We've had kids, one of the judges in Northeast Iowa, for example, if it's the end of a delinquency, so they're honoring that time, or it's another type of milestone or progress, they will all sign the book, which is amazing, just to honor that and to honor the child and their team that helped them get there. And that's the stuff that we could never have thought of. We just wanted kids to, for the first time, we've had kids tell us, this is the first time I've ever seen my face on the cover. I've never seen me reflected in a story or on the cover of a book, and now I get to read that. And so it opens up the world to children, to let them know again that their unique story matters, and that the trauma and maybe the trials that they've faced, that again, that even in all that darkness, that there's light, and who they can see themselves to become, maybe, where maybe they never could do that before. And so that's the libraries, which are amazing. And then the 8 corners, we started, Colin, when he had his courtroom, we brought in our sons, after he had kind of grown out of it, his little table and chairs and coloring books. And then we had like some hand-me-down books that were there just for kids. So when siblings come to court, they have to kind of sit through the business of court, right? And, you know, that could be hard, and people are trying to focus and yet keep the littles, you know, occupied. And so Colin created this space in his own courtroom just so they would feel, hey, I've got a place I can go play, I can be quiet, and now I can have court, and he can sit with them. And so one of the judges, Judge Pattison, had kept it. After COVID came back, they were allowed to bring all that stuff out, and he said, I really would like this in my courtroom, and now it's caught on. And really, I think this is just a tribute to what the work that is done in juvenile court. They strive so hard to create this family-centered space where, again, it's not adversarial. It's not like adult court, it's not jail. It's, you know, we're trying to create spaces where healing can happen. And yes, maybe wrongs have happened, but how can we provide the support and the services so we can all come together and be on the same page and help you reach those goals so that you can be with your family again, and however you define that. And so it just, those children's corner, 8 corners, this is what we've lovingly called them, is again, just to help foster the space and the relationships and the trust that these teams are working so hard every day to cultivate and support these families and these children.
That's super cool. It's if anybody's ever been to traffic court or a courtroom for any reason, it's super intimidating and super scary. And imagine being 12 and walking into that situation. It would be super intimidating. So to have a little 8 corner and a little coloring book, and a judge who's like a little bit welcoming and gets to know you on a personal level, like how incredible is that? And not that you want a kid to have to go to court in the first place.
Correct.
But if they do and they see that it's like there's a black curtain around the corner, and you part the black curtain and you see it's like, I'm okay in here. Mm-hmm. It's a safe place for me. Then it can help them on the road to restoring hope.
Well, and there's a lot of research, certainly on the opposite side. There are wonderful reading programs, and Freedom Reads is a wonderful program you can look into. But it's all on the side of when people have already been imprisoned, right? And we know how important books are. They're vehicles to self-actualization and empathy and understanding that you're not alone in your situation, right? And we really believe if we can do that proactively in something as simple as a book and just giving them we're planting seeds. Mm-hmm. And we understand that. Yep. And that's all we want to do. And that's the kindness, that intentional act of kindness that Christine talks about, is how do we, again, we may never see the fruits of this, but we firmly, truly, humbly believe that if we can just plant seeds and in little ways let people know they matter, those seeds will ripple and grow, and we are each other's harvest, and that is our community. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like in a world where we're at now, where despair is so easy, it is so easy to just feel that, and when we lead into that becomes apathy, that becomes inaction. And the opposite of the way we fight despair is we act, and we do it in intentional ways that let each other know they matter, and that we see you, and that we care about you. And we just have to keep finding ways to do that in our community. And if that's the one way we can keep doing it, and people then know Colin through that and know his story, and or just remember him, or remember how they were made to feel, or it leads them and guides them and how they now care for children and do the work that they do. That's Colin's love. Just still, it's present, it's everywhere, and he'll always be with us that way. And so anything I can do to honor him.
That's awesome. I love that. It's like, an oak tree is broad, and not every seed is going to fall in fertile ground, and some may take root in the cracks of a sidewalk and run out of soil, and it's as if you find that seedling and it's like, oh, let's put you in some fertile soil where you can be nurtured and cared for and grow into a big, beautiful oak tree.
Yep.
And by working in the juvenile detention system, juvenile justice system, like, that's essentially what you're trying to do.
Yeah. We had a lawyer called us one time after taking some of the books. She took some of the library books to a child who was in detention for the weekend. And this was a student or a child who'd been told, you're a bad student, you're not going to amount to much. And she brought him The Hate U Give and another book. And she came back over the weekend and he said, I've read it 3 times. And she said that just having that book, it opened up this dialogue that they didn't have before. And he was able to kind of share with her a lot of what he'd been going through that nobody knew or understood. And what she then was able to do with that to better advocate for him and just the trust and the relationship that it fostered for them. It was just amazing to hear, and that's all we could hope for. And, for Christine, I thank her and her team so much because this year our Acorners will now have Art Force Iowa created coloring books. So we love to continue to share her story and the amazing work that her team does for kids and for our community. And anything that we can continue, that, like she said, that alchemy that happens when we collaborate and we all are we share that shared passion to just be there for one another and to intentionally create spaces that foster justice and mercy and compassion and kindness, which should not be a radical idea. It should not be. It should be what we just do and comes naturally, but it is a radical. And then I want to be radical and I want to be woke and I want to wake up every day learning how to be a better human and how to be a better giver and a better helper. That's what I will strive to do.
You're an incredible human. You're an incredible helper.
Well, I don't know about that, but we want to be on that path.
For sure, yeah. One of the ways that you do this is by hosting a bike ride and a silent auction and kind of a whole cool event down at Middlebrook Farms, the end of August, almost the end of August, after the fair.
Yes,
after the fair is called the end of August, right? But tell me about that. Tell me about the event and how you came up with that.
Yes, so this will be our 5th annual Memorial Bike Ride and Silent Auction fundraiser. It'll be held next Saturday, August 23rd. 10 a.m. will be the ride. A simple ride for you hardcore riders.
It is a simple
ride. They will ride from Middlebrook Farm down the pathway to Martinsdale and then loop back to Cumming to Middlebrook Farm.
Is that like 22-mile round trip? Maybe?
I think so, yeah. So it's a leisure but a lovely, beautiful ride of the scenic prairie and that part of Iowa. So.
If anyone wants more, they can always ride out to Cumming.
They can keep going,
yes.
They
can ride out to Cumming and then join the ride.
Yes. So our ride, it's from 10 to, the ride probably is about an hour for those of you who are pretty quick. But our event goes till 1. We'll have food trucks, live music. Brian Congdon will be singing. He's been performed a lot around Des Moines area. Well known to a lot of people. And then we will have wine wagon when we'll have our silent auction. We have about 50 different items from Iowa men's basketball, Drake men's and women's basketball, Iowa football, Iowa State football tickets, autographed memorabilia, wonderful gift boxes like the Wandering Women, which is a wonderful thing about, that's a wonderful local resource as well. Restaurants, Des Moines Performing Arts. So we have a variety of things for everybody to bid on. But all money that we raise truly goes into both sustaining the current libraries we have, but also to build new libraries. And currently we have 3 more counties, juvenile courtrooms, who would love to have Mahaska, Blackhawk, and Floyd County. So we want to keep being able to bring these Mighty Oaks Giving Libraries and 8 Corners wherever we can into the juvenile court system.
What's that take? If somebody wanted to say, hey, I want to help put a library in Mahaska County.
It's a great question. As Christine says, I like to say any change,
dollar,
any spare change
for sure.
makes big change, is real change. And so, but it costs us about, on average, $3,500 to create a library, because that includes the bookcase. It not just includes 50 titles, but it's about 4 to 5 copies of each book.
Oh, sure.
And again, these are brand new books. We are very blessed, though. I'd like to shout out to Beaverdale Books, because they are our partner. They give us a wonderful discount, and it means a lot to us to be able to have a local partner and book provider. And so it does cost, but we know that it matters to be able to give new books to these kids. Mm-hmm. So, and then the 8 Corners, it's about $250 for an 8 corner. They get a tree bookcase, and then they get a little children's table, chairs, a rug, and coloring books and accessories. So those would be the costs that we endure for it. So.
Awesome. And if you can't make the bike ride, actually, if you want to make the bike ride and the silent auction, you can find information at restoringhopedsm.org.
Correct.
And if you just want to hey, I've got $3,500 burning a hole in my pocket, I want to sponsor a courtroom,
we would love to talk with you. Yes. So yes, our
awesome.
website, our Facebook page is the same, Restoring Hope DSM. Please reach out. We would love to partner with you, collaborate with you. And we just thank you for the opportunity to share our story and to talk about Colin, somebody we deeply love. So
yeah, I do want to say about Colin, and we came to the silent auction last year. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what the weather was, but I remember we did not ride down there because something. It was super
They got
windy.
blocked. There had been
trees were down.
Trees were down.
There was a storm. That's right.
And they were going to reroute us across Army Post.
Yeah, right.
And it wasn't safe.
Right.
It was not safe for a family rider.
That's right. But there was a whole bunch of University of Iowa stuff. And I guess I'm okay with that, because Colin was he was an Iowa fan, and that's okay. And I mean, we root for Iowa all but 3 games a year, so we'll be okay with that. But you did say some Iowa State stuff too, right?
We have Iowa State football, both the BYU and KU games. We have tickets available.
Oh, Kansas, not Kansas State.
No.
Do you have tickets and transportation to the Kansas State game?
I do not.
Which is in Ireland.
Yeah, I wish. If
Actually, I think it's the 23rd. I think it's the same day. It is. Yeah. So, no, we don't have tickets to the game in Ireland, which would be super fun. But
that would be super fun.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I will look forward to seeing you on the 23rd. And we've been talking a lot about Christine. I'm just going to tell you this as a matter of whatever, but you're going to lead this podcast conversation, and Christine will be right after this. So the Christine we've been talking about runs Art Force Iowa, and Christine's going to tell us all about that.
Awesome. Thank you. You're going to love her.
For
Thanks,
sure.
Dave.
Absolutely. So thank you, Jen. Great to see you again.
You too.
And Kyle, just keep spreading kindness. Christine Herr, what's your title?
Executive Director.
I thought it was Executive Director, but we are in the, I'm going to say Art Force Iowa studio, and it's super cool. It's in this building, the Mainframe building in Des Moines, Iowa, which is also super cool. What is Art Force Iowa? And B, what is Mainframe? Because it's freaking cool here.
Yeah, so let me start off with Mainframe. Mainframe is a nonprofit that houses over 100 different artists, and we're the only state in the nation that has a nonprofit that does this level work with this many artists in a studio space. So I think it's really cool, because that means that we always have over 100 working artists in one studio space to really support collaboration and creation. And to know that we're the only ones that have it in the U.S. is really cool.
It's cool and it's surprising.
It's surprising.
To describe it, it's a great big building in downtown Des Moines, beautiful building, and you walk in the front door and instead of office spaces or retail spaces or restaurant spaces, it is studio spaces. Up and down the many floors. How many floors here?
5.
4, 5? 5 floors?
Yep.
And every nook and cranny is another artist who's creating their wares and making a living, hopefully, right?
And it's all kinds of artists. So you got visual artists, photographers, the traditional painters, and then you have ceramists, you have glassblower. There's a glassblower downstairs in the lower level who teaches classes and also creates these amazing pieces. We have different nonprofits in the space as well. The Des Moines Arts Festival, their team is here on the 4th floor. We got jewelry makers, we have musicians. There's all types of artists, and I like to tell everyone, when you come to Mainframe, there's going to be some artist that you will like, right?
That's
it's
fair.
going to be more than
there's
one.
100 for sure.
But there's going to be something for everybody because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they do all kinds of stuff.
You know, I think this is such a great idea. If you're listening to this podcast in a different city, in a different state, like take note and recreate this elsewhere, because if I'm on a bike ride, I don't know, maybe I'm riding, Dee and I have a 30-mile loop that goes out from our house and around Grays Lake and back, and I don't know, we might average 16 miles an hour with the stops and the goes and the this and that. It's all on bike trail, which is pretty awesome. But we go on a group ride and we might average 20 miles an hour. In the group, we all go faster. We all help each other out. We all move each other along. We all support each other. We all take our turn on the front. And I imagine it's got to be the same for an artist, even if you're I'm a filmmaker, and I would love to hang out where there's other people who are creative, and I could walk down the hall and chat with somebody who's a ceramicist or a watercolor painter or a quilter. Our friend Dee Witt is upstairs as a quilter, and have a conversation and say, I was thinking about this, and what about that, and what about this? I feel like it's like a group ride on a bike. Like this kind of place can raise everybody who's here. Yeah, and it's fun, right? And we're challenging each other, we're collaborating. So Art Force Iowa is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Des Moines, Iowa, and our mission is creating opportunities for youth to transform through art. And being in this space has been so cool because we've been able to collaborate with other artists in the actual facility, right? So we worked with Linda Lewis, who's a ceramist on the 4th floor. She actually worked with our students and helped them create these amazing masks for our exhibit. We work with Jess Quinn has done stuff with young people here in the Mainframe studios as well. There's Oak Ridge, and we've been, hey, Oak Ridge, you guys are downstairs. How do we bring young people to come and record music in your studio? And so it's a great time to collaborate and also find artists who care about young people. Mm-hmm. So we have another artist mentor here who does figure drawing, and his name is Jonathan Fusco. And he's been an artist mentor with Art Force since 2016. And so to know that we have an artist who we've been friends with for so long, who's just on the floor above us, and having that kind of access is also really amazing. And then we have Jimmy Navarro, who's a muralist, right? He has helped us create, I think, 4 or 5 murals within the different Des Moines public schools that we're in. Oh, wow.
And that's such a cool experience because the first time we did it at Goodrow Middle School, we worked with over 60 ELL, English language learners. And we worked with them to create this concept of a mural that would go in their school. And they got to decide, what does this mural look like? And they wanted to do a mural based on their culture because they were proud of who they are and where they come from. And so Jimmy was like, okay, cool. Let me help you guys create your concept from the things that you care about, the values, your culture, your foods. And then they painted this mural with a professional muralist, with Jimmy. and Katie Jensen, his partner, and the kids loved it. And at the end, they had this huge, like 16-foot by 12-foot by 15-foot mural. And the cool part that it wasn't just the kids who were like, oh my God, I did that, and I love my school because there's school pride, but the adults, the teachers, the principal, they were all coming by and saying, damn, my school is cool, right? So it wasn't just young people being like, wow, it was the adults. And this is a school that I went to for middle school. And when I went to this school, I was maybe 1 in 5 kids of color in the entire school. And now this school is very diverse. And so being able to have a school change the demographics, it can be difficult, right? People aren't ready. Teachers aren't, they don't know what that transition looks like. Students are different. They have different needs, right? Some of them can't speak English. And so for us, it was, how do we change this culture so that everyone can feel welcomed, everyone can feel like they are a part of this school campus? And the mural was one of the ways we did that. And it was really neat to just see everyone come together and take so much pride in this mural that is just down one hallway of the school, but the entire school was like, wow, that's in our school. So being here at Mainframe and doing the work that we do and being able to collaborate with artists who are working artists has been amazing because young people get to have access to them.
Yeah.
So at Art Force, we serve 2 kinds of demographics. Young people who are involved in the court system, whether it's the juvenile justice system or family court, and then young people who are refugee immigrant. And I also like to include, as a little asterisk, kids who have been labeled as bad or delinquent or thug or thief. We work with young people within those demographics. And for us, it's amazing because we get to see kids for who they are. And all of us as staff, we're working artists ourselves. So every person here, we're artists. And for us, it's always been, how do we light the artists in every young person so that they can know, I can do this. And one thing that I love about our program, it's not just about art. It's about social emotional learning. So we ask kids all the time, when you're really angry, what color is that?
Oh.
And then what's the opposite emotion of being angry? So to you, it might be joy. To them, it might be maybe having fun. So what color is that? And then we say, so when you're angry, and if angry is orange to you, but being joyful is green, how can you change that orange to green? So now they can visualize it, and then they can regulate it. And I feel like as adults, we are supposed to know how to regulate, right?
Right, for
but
sure.
We know.
Right, no.
Right? I mean, I think it's not just me, Dave. I'm sure you too. We've been hangry. And
I just had this discussion with Dee this weekend, for sure. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
And it's like, wow, we want kids to be able to do something that we can't do as adults. So I love that in our program and the way that we do our work, we let kids know we don't know what we're doing either. So we're on this journey with you. We are learning about ourselves so that we can be better humans. We're not better than you. And you don't have to earn my respect. You have my respect. And I think that was one thing that we really loved and admired about Judge Witt, was that he lived his life respecting kids and never made kids feel like they had to earn his respect. And I know this because we had so many kids who had him. And they would all say, well, you know, I hope my judge is Judge Witt. Because I know if I'm in his courtroom, he's not judging me.
Wow.
Right? And so for us, it was, how do we do that in our program? How do we continue to make sure that kids know this isn't a power trip here? I'm also not better than you. And I'm also going to give you respect because you deserve respect. Right?
Yep.
So I love what we do. And I think because of the way we do stuff, kids want to make art with us. Even the kids who are like, oh, that's lame. Right? The kids who don't who think they're too cool for it.
Right.
You know, we're the only nonprofit, arts nonprofit, youth nonprofit that is making art with kids who live in juvenile detention centers in the state of Iowa. And so we go into this space and you think that, you know what, maybe they don't want to do this, but there's a hunger, right? There's a deep hunger for making art and for connection with a caring adult. And we know, because science has shown us, that kids who have trauma, if they have one caring adult, that can change their life. So to us, it's let's make some cool art, but let's also make sure that at the heart of making this art, that we're good, kind people, so that kids can feel safe when they're with us. But Art Force has, a capacity limit. We can't serve everybody. We don't have all the money in the world.
Well,
to
I
do
wish
that.
you could. I wish you could serve me as an adult. Like, it's such a cool program. And
Well, that's one of the things that we actually do. We train adults. Because we know our ecosystem is limited. But if we can train more adults who care about young people, who care about the community, then they can have this Art Force IO approach, this method, that then, makes this ecosystem of kindness a lot bigger than what we can just do in our own little space. So we also work with adults and train adults in the practices that we use. And, our hope is for a much kinder Iowa where everyone, literally everyone, thrives and flourishes. That matters to us. And then, of course, we want everyone to be making some cool-ass art.
Right. I could see, I don't know, maybe a studio in Perry.
I think that would be amazing.
Right.
It would be amazing. Perry would be so great, honestly.
It would be easy. We could do that.
It would be easy because they have art on the prairie up there.
Oh, they do have art on the prairie, and I have a sister with a gallery, so
Look
let's
at
make
that
connection. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna make her listen to this episode.
Hi, sister.
Yep. That's awesome. I love that. I love what you're doing, and I wish you all the success. Where's somebody go to support an organization like this?
They can go to our website at artforceiowa.org. We are also on a Yes Kindness campaign where we're trying to let folks know that even spare change can make real change. So if they want to give, and they can give, go to yeskindness.org. And if you can't give, that's okay. We just ask that you spread kindness wherever you go.
I love it. I'm all for that.
Cool.
All for that, all day and every day.
Every day.
And Fridays.
Fridays. First Friday of every month. You can come to Mainframe because it's opened. And then we are in Studio 101. You won't miss us because we are the first studio that you see when you walk through the main doors.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is, First Friday is super cool, super crowded, and super fun. Like, it is a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it is a must do if you are here on the first Friday of a month. So.
And every month is curated, featuring different artists. So you're not going to see the same stuff every month.
Keep coming back.
Different. Yeah.
Every first Friday.
Every first Friday.
All right. Christine, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we also want to talk to one of the board members of Restoring Hope and a dude whose wheel both Dee and I enjoy sharing on, you're a 515er.
Correct.
Which means 5:15 in the morning, and that's a D ride, and I'll show up for that a couple times a year when there's treats.
Yes. Yep.
Cinnamon rolls or breakfast by Brinker or whatever. But Jason Hemmer, you, in addition to those super early morning rides, and I can't make so much fun of it. I used to make fun of it because, like, when Dee, honestly, still, even though I get up for the You-Me ride, which starts at 6, I have to leave my house at 5:25 to meet you guys on Grand and then ride up Ingersoll and try and hang on your wheel. And by you guys, I mean, like, I meet the 515 crew, and then most of us head down to the You-Me ride. Even still, when I'm getting up for the You-Me ride, 4 a.m. when Dee wakes up to make the 5:15 ride is still the middle of the night when I get up to pee and go back to bed. I still, even though I'm getting up for the 6 a.m. ride, you guys still get up in the middle of the night.
Yep.
and go ride your bikes.
Yep. So
it is still the middle of the night, Jason. I just want you to know that.
No, I know.
It's crazy.
Two things about that.
It's so early.
It is. Two things about that. First of all, you mentioned your wife, Dee. She's also one of the most phenomenal people I know, and just a kind person. She's just a good person. She knows everybody. She also remembers things about people. She asks them questions. She's always happy to see you. And she's, as far as, then there's the flip side of it, the fact that she is, you guys are both 60 now, right?
We are.
You're both 60. Sorry to say your age out loud, but
that's all right. I think it's known on this podcast how old I am because I'm old.
But to see her,
Dee's not old.
No,
Dee's not old.
No. Well, I've also heard her referred to many times as the first lady of basically of Des Moines.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard the ride mom. She's my ride mom. She's my cycling mom.
Yep.
So, but I haven't heard first lady. I like that.
But the other flip side of it too the other side of it, those rides have kind of like in some ways it's kind of like therapy in some ways, and I think at hard times in my life, that's kind of been the constant thing that's gotten me through, and just the physical activity, but then the social side of it too, where you get to see people, and it's this community. And the weird part about it is too, you see some of these people out in the public, and you're not quite sure if it's really them, even though you talk to them every day for years.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But yeah, no, it's a really good thing, and one of the best things I have in my life too is that community of people.
Cool. Well, I want to tie you into what we're talking about today, and I feel like it kind of starts with, what do you do for a living?
I'm a juvenile court officer. I work for the state of Iowa.
And you worked in the Honorable Colin Witt's courtroom, I understand.
I did, yes.
Tell me a little bit about Colin.
Colin is, Colin was my friend, but then also a colleague from work. And so I knew him from both sides of that. And he was a remarkable person, a remarkable human being, and a remarkable, father, husband, son, brother. But then that carried over to being a very kind and compassionate juvenile court judge as well. He truly was, he taught me what a friend was. He was one of the best friends I've ever met. I had friends and close friends, but he kind of showed me what a genuine friend really was. And I think the other part about it too, I think why we were such good friends was I've always been a little bit goofy, always kind of marched to my own beat. And then there's this guy who's this accomplished judge that everybody loves, and he's kind of the same way. He's a slob, he dresses goofy, his car looked like it looked like there had been a fire in it because he smoked cigars, and the ashes would go everywhere, and there'd be ash all over all of his stuff. The back seat was like a locker room. If you needed a pair of running shoes or some shorts or something like that, it was always back there. And he had no, anything that, it's hard to describe, he'd always talk about people he knew that almost when they attained a certain status in life, their personalities changed, and the things that they did changed, and the people they associated with changed, and he didn't like that at all. And so he'd always talk about that, and he was the anti that. He was, it was hard for him to get a new car clothes, he had the worst fashion sense of anybody. He used to wear a running jacket to work. These judges who have these, very business attire. He would wear a neon green running jacket with a reflective strip on the back to work. And so he just,
that kind of sounds like me a little bit.
Exactly.
I still have my 25-year-old bike that I can't let go of, and my 60-year-old bike that I can't let go of.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
I'll drive the same car for 20 years. And
we're all kind of from the same cloth, and in mainstream, I don't know if you say mainstream, but just in life, it's sometimes it's hard to find others that are similar. And so I think when I found him, it's like, whoa, and we liked all the same things. We love the Hawkeyes. We love anything, football, basketball. That's when I ran quite a bit. We'd running, riding. He got into triathlon, cycling. We did trail mile together. We didn't really ride with him on Ragbri because he rode with Adaptive Sports Iowa. But we would, hang out, run, ride, smoke cigars together. And so I think the other side of the Colin, because Jen, talked about kind of the professional side of him and, all the good he did in juvenile court. But I think the other side of him was the friend side. And the friend side wasn't much different. He was also very welcoming. He was also very kind. He's the guy you called if you're having a rough day. And he always had the answers. And he would tell you it's going to be okay, and you trusted it was going to be okay because he told you that, and so he just was that guy, and he would talk through things, and I would say that he was one of the best friends I ever had, but there's probably 75 dudes that would tell you the same thing.
Wow.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so in the other, I'm in a unique spot too because I knew him as a friend, but then also knew him from work, and so it's like those both worlds collide, and you kind of. I think that I miss him as a friend, and then I miss him at work. And so
tell me about your relationship at work with him.
Yeah, so I met him in 2009. He took over the drug court program. He was a young judge. I think he was, 33, 4, 5 at that time? Something like that. And so he came in to the drug court program. The previous judge was an older female, very strict, very stern. And then Colin comes in, and I guess backing that up, the previous judge, she wasn't very approachable. Wasn't always. It was kind of like going to see kind of like the Wizard of Oz when they go see the Emperor. It was kind of like that.
Scary.
Yes.
Yeah, intimidating.
Who goes there? Yeah. Colin was not that way at all. You'd go into his office and he'd be like, "What's up, man? Hey, you want something to eat? My wife got I remember specifically, he's like, my wife gets these salads from Target. I love them." And like, he'd have food. You could sit at his desk. You could use his phone.
He was a judge, but he was just a guy, just human.
Yep. Just a regular guy.
Yep.
And he'd talk frequently about like, some of his good friends from college, and he'd talk about some of the fun times they had, and he'd always say, "I never want to lose that side of me." And he never wanted to change who he was as a person, no matter who was around. And I think he was almost more drawn to just regular people, because I think in that world, it's I don't know. I guess I can't really begin to describe what that's like. But he came in, and he was very different. He was court was very laid back. It was very welcoming, like Jen talked about. Kids would come in. The first thing that I really noticed about him was kids would come in and he would remember everything that they said the week before. He'd be like, you told me your geometry class wasn't going so well, and we talked about ways that you could go and speak to your teacher and maybe get some extra help. How'd that go? And the kids would, they'd be shocked that he remembered. He'd also remembered many things about the parents, and he'd say, and that was the other part about it, was he was very welcoming to the parents, and he would remember every little detail that they had. They would come and he'd be like, "Hey Bob, how's your job going at such and such? What?" So that was, it just created this atmosphere, and he made all of us feel very welcome. And in the courtroom scene, there's a lot of unique people, a lot of complex people, maybe hard to deal with, and he always did a very good job of balancing those people and forming connections to them as well. And so I always appreciate that about him. But then as time progressed, he was fair. He was kind. He gave chances, like Jen said, and he knew what was important and what wasn't. And I think the unique thing about him too was there'd be times where kids had worked with us for years, and we've given them all these different services, and it really, things still weren't great. And he would, or they would come in and say, I think I should be off probation because of X, Y, and Z. I've been doing this, and he had enough sense to know when it was time to get out of the way. And he'd always say, sometimes we do more harm than good. And so he just had that sense about him to know when it was the right time. And he'd always tell me, you'll never regret giving a child another chance. He said that all the time. And so I still remember it to this day. But everyone loved him. But I think the flip side of that is, if he got to the point where either Colin got upset, or he took some action as far as maybe you need to go to the detention center, maybe you needed to go to like an out-of-home placement. There wasn't a lot of argument, because those kids knew that they were given every opportunity to get it right,
Sure.
and then some.
Sure.
And so there was no argument, and they knew, like, yeah, this is what I need right now. And the other thing he'd always say too is, like, I'm not necessarily going to give you what you want, but I'll give you what you need. And so that just kind of shows what his philosophy was as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing I miss the most is there were just the times of, riding, running, that kind of stuff, and the conversations we would have, and he would just, the filter would come off, and he would, kind of talk about, life, and, we talked a lot about fatherhood, we talked a lot about families, and he just, he always had the answers, and, we would sit and smoke cigars on the deck, or, things like that, and there was a lot of, it was just, fun, and I miss that about him. So I think but I think we're also, the other part about it too, I think I can say is, like, Colin was one of the best friends I've ever had, but then since that time, Jen has become one of the best friends I've ever had. I know she wouldn't admit it, but it's like, I think what I've come to understand throughout this time, especially after Colin's passed away, is that a lot of him and his philosophies, the way he did things, was a reflection of her. So that part about it, I think I've come to notice, and I really appreciate that about her. So I really appreciate also just how she's carried on, as a mother, as a, sister. She has a wonderful sister named Julie. And so just seeing her in that realm, but then also with the work with Restoring Hope, I think it's been phenomenal. Just the strength that she's carried through, and we wouldn't be here today without her. Restoring Hope would not be here and be what it is without her, just because of the hard work, the vision she had initially. Like and all of us trusting in that vision and trying to help her with it, it's been really phenomenal. One of the best things I think I've done in my life. And so I'm very proud and appreciative to be a part of it. And, I think we've done really good things. And I get to see firsthand the good that's done with these books and the good that the libraries have had. It's very common to have, a lot of times children will come to court, they'll have younger siblings that will come, and they're just drawn to those corners. And like Jen has talked about, it's also very nice to, after a tough court hearing, be like, hey, let's take this book. Or at the detention center, kids read the books, and it gets them through those tough times, and it gets them to think about maybe some of the ways in their lives that could be improved, and letting go of some of the resentments that have built up through childhood. So that part about it, I think, is really good, and I think we're just going to continue to do what we can to help, and kind of continue to move through, and yeah, it's a really great thing. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Thanks tons to Jen, Christine, and Jason for joining me today. And if you want my opinion, I would say the world needs more people like these three. And we would love to see you at the Middlebrook Farm in Cumming, Iowa on August 23rd, 2025. And you can find all the info you need at www.restoringhopedsm.org. And if you want to learn more about the Art Force Iowa organization and the work that they are doing with kids, head on over to www.artforceiowa.org. And thank you again for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And if you did, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And if you love it, I sure would love it if you would rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you do want to support the show financially, I am not going to stop you. Please feel free to drop a few coins in the cup at buymeacoffee.com. There's a link in the show notes. I really appreciate that kind of support. It really helps keep these episodes coming. And one more thing, be sure to give the show a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can always find and stream every episode right on your computer or phone at biketalk.bike. Well, I hope you have a great week. And remember this from Colin Witt. When you make a mistake, don't let it define you. You'll be amazed at what you can learn from your road ahead, and that one mistake doesn't define who you are or what you're capable of becoming.